and welcome to another edition for the NSA Houston podcast. I think we've got a really good guest for you today as you followed us throughout all of the interviews we're doing with presidents. Now, we've done different organizations that are involved all around the city of Houston and beyond, and today is no different. So, Shea Sullivan is the president of the International Association of Business Communicators in Houston. The acronym is IABC, and I think you're going to really enjoy how we collaborate. So, Shea, why don't you introduce yourself, say hello to our awesome audience, and let us get to know you.
Well, first of all, thank you for having me, Megan. Hello, NSA Houston. I'm really thrilled to be on this podcast and introduce our organization to you, and also think about ways that we can collaborate in the future. Because I think one thing I can mention is last week on the 5th of December, we had it in Cahoots holiday mixer. And I think, and Megan, you were there. It was great to see you in your festive jacket. And this is growing. And I think this really speaks to the power of collaboration among all of the communications organizations here in Houston. And it sounds at risk of sounding cheesy, but we're stronger together. And when we all put our creative heads together, we can do great things. And one of the things I like to say about IABC Houston is that we support each other, we hire each other, and we support each other's businesses and creative endeavors. So and businesses. A little bit about myself. I've been an IABC member for over 20 years, so I can say that I'm actually a walking billboard for the organization.
That's awesome.
I can say that every single job, client, or project that I have had over the past 20 years has been a direct connection with IABC. Someone in it, someone from other chapters. I have international clients as well now too because of this. And the ones that were not connected to IABC, they didn't work out so well. They were terrible. So it's a trusted network, we can say.
That's awesome.
Yeah, just a little bit about myself and what I do. So I'm a communications consultant. I specialize primarily in internal employee communications, and I really like to specialize in the frontline and safety spaces. So I do a lot of work in oil and gas and construction, a lot of years cutting my teeth in those industries. And so that's really where I like to play. I'm a consultant. I work with several different consultancy agencies. And I also have my own, SheaBizComms.com. It's SheaBizComms.com. And so I perform communication audits for organizations. I really like to get into culture building and then tactically executing and serving internal communication strategies that help affect change, help impact positive behaviors, and achieve business results ultimately.
Is that all? Sounds
That's
like
all.
Every organization I've ever worked with definitely needs your help, because I think communication is so, I would say, difficult, challenging, complex, maybe, to take one of those words.
And everyone thinks they can do it.
And it's not one size fits all, right? Now we have texting and intranet homepages and emails and town halls. I mean, yeah, imagine you've seen a lot of different things.
Yeah, and a lot of things that you mentioned there, those are just media, really. And we can adapt with media and technology and everything, but ultimately it's all about connecting with the people and understanding their consumption habits and the messages that they really need to receive from you, the organization, and also helping them understand the desired behaviors that you need from them as an employee. And that extends to contractors as well. So it really is it's never a one size fits all proposition, to be honest with you. And a lot of things that I'm doing is exploring different ways to reach the front line. So these are non-digital employees, and so much of internal communications that you see out there in terms of research and articles and things like that, it really ignores that workforce. It's all digital all the time. And it's like, not everyone is working from home and not everyone is sitting in front of a desk every day. Some of my clients have up to 80% of their workforce on a manufacturing floor in a production environment.
Yeah, it's a real world thing. When I worked at Mustang Cat, half the company were technicians. They're not at a computer. When I worked at Memorial Hermann, all the nursing staff, I mean, we would send out comms and everyone would say, well, people don't read, but they're not at a computer. So you have to find other ways to communicate. just by the nature of the industry.
Yeah, that's a challenge, but I love it. That's why
Yeah.
I do what I do.
Okay, so I'm curious. If you were to think about where you first found and fell into this career, thought about it, how did you get into what you're doing? Because it seems like it's a very needed skill, but I don't know a lot of people that do it.
Well, like many other people in the communications realm, I would say I'm a reformed journalist and a TV news flunky. So that's actually where I started. I used to think, so growing up and all through college and my internships and everything, I had this dream of being on ESPN. And that's what I thought I wanted to do, was be a sports reporter. And while that is, my internships were really fun, my experience during school was really fun. When you actually got out of college and started schlepping around your own camera for $250 a week. And I realized that I really liked being a fan better than I liked being a reporter and actually being part of the action. So really great experience. I started off in my hometown of Corpus Christi, and then I moved to Montana for a couple of years and did small market TV. And after that, I was like, there's got to be something else I can do with my life, because this is not what I thought it was going to be. And I think I knew better, to be honest with you, but I just thought, I'm going to take a year break from this. And if I really miss TV news, I'll go back to it. And in that year, I ended up getting my first corporate communications job, and I never looked back. And that was 2000.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Never looked back. I mean, isn't it interesting how you find your path and it's like, I don't know, you just get synced into the river of where it's going.
And you just kind of have to follow the waters where they're going to take you and avoid the bumps along the way. But really, there's a lot of I would say a lot of people would agree with me if I said there's so many transferable skills that you take from TV news or journalism in general, and then how you apply those to corporate communications. And just if you look at, I mean, I got in 2000, and here we are 24 years later, as I'm dating myself here. But look at how fast everything's moved. I was still working. My gosh, I was just thinking about the last small town newspaper I worked at. We were still printing everything out and running it through the wax strips and actually physically laying out the paper before going to print every week. And I was reminiscing about that, a couple of weeks ago with one of my former employers. And, when we started in corporate communications, you had the newsletter, and there were very tried and true company magazines, mailings to homes. There were lots of different, it was all very old school. And so I think we've really had to adapt, not just to the rapid pace of technology and the adoption of that technology within our organizations, but also how people consume information. And so that's probably a really good segue into like why IABC is really important. Because and if that was a question you were going to ask me,
yeah, go for it. You
there.
read my mind.
Well, and so IABC, it really, when I first joined it, I was encouraged by my vice president at the time, and my first corporate job at Blue Cross Blue Shield of Oklahoma. And she said, okay, you can either do PRSA or IABC. I'm only going to sponsor one. And so one of my coworkers was more on the PR side of things. And I was still kind of figuring out what I really wanted to do and what my place in this world was going to be. And so I got into IABC, and that's where I really, really figured it out that businesses have got to communicate effectively with their employees in order to actually drive business results. And there's a statistic that's widely known out there that from Project Management Institute that communication, like poor communication or a lack of communication, is a top reason why projects fail. And so, and it's not an afterthought either. And so while I was developing those skills, I worked in like advertising and marketing. I worked on employee communication. I worked with member benefits coordination, a lot of nuts and bolts stuff. And it's like, you have to understand business to clearly communicate it. And I think that's where the wheels really started spinning in my head, is that there's an obvious need for this. And it's not just about, a lot of people still don't understand that we're not about planning the parties, and we're not about just sending out the newsletter. There is a lot of strategic work that goes on with companies, with me and my clients. So this is the type of stuff that we do. And so IABC really is the go-to source for that. It's an international association, like we said, but it's for business communicators. This is what we do. We are primarily B2B. And so it's the type of practitioners, like our membership is made up of practitioners of internal comms, external, community relations, I mean, even like HR communications. There's a lot of disciplines and there's a lot of generalists too, but it's also the people in that orbit. So we have a lot of consultants like myself that get hired by these corporations to do special projects or audits or, other campaigns and things like that can really help drive their business results. It's also the creatives like professional photographers, videographers, bloggers, ghostwriters. There's so many other talented people in the orbit of business communications, and that's really who our membership is. If you come to one of our meetings, you'll probably find enough people that can put together a comms team or execute a project for you. And one of the greatest benefits too is that I've been hired out of IABC contacts that I know, but if you know somebody, Megan, like, hey, I've got a project and I need a really good video guy. Hey, I've got 5 I can give you. And we can work in budget price points and things like that. And so I think that's one of the greatest things about like our community and working together, like with NSA and all the other communications organizations, is that we can refer each other, we can hire each other and connect with each other instead of just trying to operate as our own little organizations, trying to do all the same thing. Because the truth is, we're not trying to poach each other's membership. We all do different things. It's more about like really complementing the whole landscape here in Houston.
Yeah, 100% agree. And I love how you went from explaining your membership also, and a key piece, for a National Speakers Association, our theme this year until July, and then it'll shift to our new president with her new theme, is Together We Rise. And so just like what you and I have talked about, right, before today and on today, we're stronger together. And that's why you'll see a lot of what NSA is working in to build those relationships. And I love how you picked out the videographer, because specifically, if you're listening and you're with NSA Houston, you're a keynote speaker, or I would also argue a trainer or a coach, you own a business, you need a speaker reel, something. Social media is full of video now between reels or any platform you're on. And so I think that's a great example, Shea, of how what your crew offers and does and what we're looking for. Because we have to have speaker reels, we do recordings, and we need the high resolution, the good stuff, because that is what represents our brand. Yeah. Any other thoughts on how we can collaborate and work together? Because we're a mix of speaker or keynoters, trainers, coaches, pastors, educators, anyone that shapes the world with a spoken word. And when you and I first met, I think, well, the title Business Communicators, it just makes 100% sense why speakers like NSA Houston would work with IABC Houston, because we're all communicating. It's just a matter of how that works and how, when you put it on the taffy puller, how it's moving through. So any other ways you think we can collaborate? Because I think it's good for our audience too, of figuring out organizations like IABC that could benefit. Maybe some NSA Houston members want to join, or maybe vice versa. So what can we do together, do you think?
Well, I think, first of all, how NSA can perhaps help us. I mean, we are always looking for speakers, and whether that be virtual or at our in-person luncheons. We have 2 luncheons a month on most months. We know that content drives our attendance, and we are always looking for engaging speakers and really relevant topics that will interest a wide range of our not just membership, but people who are in our orbit, shall we say. So we have our members. Of course, we want everyone to be a member. Why not? But our emails reach about 4,000 people in the area, and so there's a broad reach. And so I think that if NSA, within your membership, you have people who can present compelling topics or Q&As or anything. I mean, we're open to whether it's luncheons or virtual. I think that's probably really key to how NSA can help us. And then on the flip side, I think that IABC members can really help you. Like you mentioned, you need videographers, I think, if you're all small business people, we have a lot of really brilliant small business marketing and strategic minds about how do you, it's not just making the stuff, like it's how do you plan to make the stuff that actually gets you leads or clients or whatever you need to grow your business. It's a really business oriented organization. And so if with all the small business or solopreneurs like me, I need that help. I can't do it all myself. And I would rather work with people that are local that I can trust and that have a good track record in us all helping each other. So I think that's the short answer of it, really.
Yeah, I agree. I think those are some wonderful examples. And I love how you brought in the marketing layer, because that's a very key piece that not everybody I know loves to do. And so if you had the help to offload that and focus on what you're really strong in, I think building your business might come a little stronger, easier, right? I don't think there's anything easy in solopreneurship.
There's nothing easy about this.
But there you go. Some other things that come to mind too, Shea, are we have a speakers academy. So if you have any members that are looking to harness those skills, run it as a business, we have that. It runs usually from January to about, I think, July. And we partner with one of the other NSA chapters out of Southern California that brings in all big keynote speakers. So there's an opportunity there, and it's virtual, which is one of the blessings from COVID, right? We also have monthly meetings. So if there's ever a topic, join our mailing list. I'd say to your members or following, we have a free mailing list. So if you want to just come and join a topic that's really relevant, I'm a big believer of make it valuable to you. You don't have to become a member if it doesn't fit. Come to one of the meetings if you think that topic will be helpful. A couple months ago, we had an IP lawyer, so intellectual property lawyer, and he talked all about trademarks, all about contracts. I mean, those are universal things that there's some things that apply to anyone trying to write those and figure out the system to, getting a trademark and what copyright is. So lots of opportunities there. So I'd say definitely, let's say in connection and collaboration, because you and I, so to our audience, our first phone call was really to figure out if we could collaborate, what it looked like for our podcast, right? Man, that 10-minute meeting, I told Shay, I was like, it'll take 10 minutes. It's no big deal. Now it was like 30 minutes and we talked about all sorts of things. I have to bring this up and we can talk about whatever level feels comfortable. But when we collaborated, it was National Speakers Association is working with the Coaching Federation in Houston, the Training Federation, the Houston Organizational Development Network, and the change management professionals in our city also. So I was telling Shay about this and I said, well, here's our alliance. This is what our mission is. Together we rise. Here's what we're planning, a big event in 2025 all together. And then Shay, would you like to share kind of what you found? You said about another alliance, because I think that and where it's headed for 2026 for the event we talked about, insane possibilities to work together that I think our viewers really need to know about, because there's some magic there. And I think if they wanted to commit and be a member of in some way, I think could be really powerful.
Yeah, so it's funny how this all kind of works together.
Oh yeah, that's the best part.
Well, and I'll preface that by saying, how we met is because you came and spoke to our IABC Entrepreneur Strategic Interest Group and blew everybody away, because we're like, we never even thought about trying this, or we didn't even know. The whole presentation was about all the great things you can do with Canva AI, and then tying it to DISC, the personality. I was like, whoa, okay, no one's doing this. And so, after that, we were all talking about it. I was like, God, there's so many things I need to do on my Canva. And then I told you about I connected you with one of my business partners who's at IABC Colorado. I was like, you've got to do this for your, get Megan to speak. And so it's like, it just kind of everybody connects one another. But getting back to that, when we first talked, I mentioned the In Cahoots holiday mixer. So this has been going on for a few years, I'd say 7 or 8 years, but then there was another iteration of that with the other communications organizations before I moved to Houston. And so it's not a new concept, but it's getting bigger, and more organizations are getting involved. And so this was a holiday mixer fundraiser where you just kind of come together. It's like us and PRSA and AMA and HBMA and all that alphabet soup of, and then we had several sponsors this year that came in that were fantastic. And and this thing grew. And so what came of that, there are two players in that that were in that in cahoots planning organization that have the greater interest in mind. And this is what you were getting at. So people are and so those two people are Jan-Luc Blackborn with Van Hollen Group, and Saoirse Gordon, who is part of the Ad Federation here of Houston. And so they are taking this to another level. It's beyond communications now. And so there's the bigger alliance that is coming about is called Team Houston. It's TEAM. It's an acronym. You can go to teamhouston.org. And what this is doing is serving as an alliance of creative and marketing and communications individuals and companies who are mobilizing the Houston community in advance of the World Cup in 2026. And there's a whole lot of soccer related events. Like if you're not a sports nut, this may sound foreign to you, but Houston is like soccer central as far as international audiences, and we're hosting all these big events. I mean, personally, I'm more of a college football and Astros fan. Go Longhorns. And but being around this group, I was like, okay, I know this is big. I've been to the Olympics before. I've covered the Summer Olympics, and it's something else. And so what Saoirse and Jan-Luc are telling me, and some of the other people in this group, is that yes, we've had the Super Bowl here. Yes, we've had the Final Four. The World Cup is going to be like all of that on steroids times 7. And start looking into it. But the thing is that we've got to start preparing ourselves as a business community now. So that way we know how to market our businesses, leverage our businesses, and empower each other on how do we capitalize. I mean, I make it sound so self-serving, but it's really not. It's how do we empower each other, because the world is coming to our city 7 times over the course of like a summer. So it's going to be insane. And there are other events leading up to it, but this is the big one. So I would encourage everybody to go to teamhouston.org. That's the website. It tells you what it's all about, but that was all really born out of the communications community. There's like I said, there's communications people, all the communications organizations, most of them are on board as part of this alliance. I think, we're still in the formation stages, but there's a lot of buzz around it. And so that's really what that's about. And so now is the time to really get on board with that. And now I'm just like double checking that I gave everybody the right, gave everybody the right URL, because like it would be just like me to like do the wrong .org or .com or something.
Or the
.net
or something weird. Yeah, go ahead. Check it out. Do you need a second to look it up?
Yes, and I think I did give you the wrong one. Let's see.
Okay.
Well, Team Houston. Yeah, way to not prepare for a podcast.
No, this is called being authentic, which is a big deal, and just being real. So while you're looking at, I'm actually going to talk, if you're listening and you're from NSA Houston or interested in being part of that group, I've already talked to Shea and I said, our group wants in on this. I don't know what it looks like. And it's kind of on behalf of the other groups we're working with, like the Coaching Federation, Training, Change Management, HOD. And don't know what it looks like, but we are taking a step to kind of step into that world, play with it, see what's coming. Because if we're really here supporting Houston, and if it's really Together We Rise, like I think it is, like Robin Christian, the person who really came up with the idea of a rising tide raises all ships, is how the whole theme came from it for my year as presidency for NSA. And so if you're thinking about, we don't know what it looks like, but we need you. We need to get involved. And if we are building a city and you're building your career, I always say good business does both. The right thing for the right reason. And then it also, you're giving back to the community and getting into an arena that might really help you. So Shea, any thoughts about, did you find that URL?
I was wrong.
Oh, okay, cool. What is it? For those of you writing notes, get a pin.
Team-houston.com. There is also a LinkedIn page that you can join, and there are monthly events that have different topics, business-related topics, marketing-related topics, so the next one is actually this week, so I don't know when you're going to be broadcasting this, but there's another one in January as well. So be on the lookout for those monthly events that are forming and telling everybody how to get involved. It's really exciting. Yeah.
Oh,
there's a lot of buzz around it.
And I like what you said too about, I'll tell you, I've only been to one soccer game ever, and I really enjoyed it, but I'm just not a huge fan. But you have to admit, this is a world sport. I know we have the World Series for baseball, but really that's only the US. World Cup is literally everyone. So regardless, I'd say stay tuned, get connected, let us know what you're involved in and what you're interested in, because I think there's going to be a role for everybody to play if you're
Mhm.
interested. Now, Shay, I think this is a question I usually kind of towards the end of our podcast, I always ask. So just a personal level, kind of get to know everybody. But I'm curious, because I'll go too. It's not just you, but I'd be happy to share the answer for me too. What is the secret talent you have? As we've talked about your career and communications, what's coming with the World Cup. But let's talk as we end up with just you. What's a secret talent that you have that not many people know?
I really had to think about that because then I'm like, that it's not secret anymore, is it? Um,
It's about to be public.
yeah, and I really racked my brain about this because I thought, well, I try to pour my talents into my work. And so, that's connecting people and coming up with creative ways to engage. And so and I'm like, what hobbies do I have outside of work? I'm like, I'm really good at traveling for football games. Like I
That's cool.
this was hard. This was a really hard one for me to do. Because I'm like, I don't, I used to be kind of artistic as a kid, but like I don't crochet, I don't paint, I don't really.
It sounds
um,
like your talent is your passion for what you do, and it sounds like maybe not so secret, but it's very evident that you love what you do.
yeah, I really do. So that's kind of like a lame non-answer. I did discover recently that I do have a talent for being able to take a momentary glance at a 6-digit login, and for some reason I don't have to look at it again. I just do it. And I thought, well, does that make me a good criminal witness? Like, I don't know. Like, I have no idea, but I was like, oh wow, like that's kind of funny how I just do that. And but yet I forget why I walked into a room. So, there's a balance, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, no, definitely not. Sounds like you're a visual learner too, because you can see it and remember it. To
Yeah.
make you feel like you're not the only one standing out there on the secret talent island. I will tell you on another podcast I shared that I can change my tires and rotate my tires and change my oil myself. So
That's
I was
impressive.
right. That's a secret talent. Not many people ask. But since I already shared that one, I'd like to be vulnerable like you on the spot. Um, I think I have a talent for composition and photos. So I have an art minor
Mm.
from Texas Tech University, and I sell paintings every now and then. So I love composition and color. And so, as my husband can attest, I'm very good with the selfie stick and getting the right composition that makes him dizzy. So he just stands there until I get the composition done. And then we have some great photos from all over the world because I just like the way that things lay out with the rule of thirds and the
Oh yeah.
colors. And yeah, so I feel like you might see it in like what I post or design, but it's a secret talent I think I have.
Okay, so now you're kind of onto something there. I was going to ask if the paintings behind you are some of your work, because I was like, hey, those look pretty cool.
No, they're not actually. I'll show
Oh
you.
wow.
This is when I started
Oh, it's
working
a world map.
internationally. It is,
Oh,
yeah,
cool. Yeah.
yeah. I
That's
pulled it
not like
when,
super evident until you like
uh-huh.
showed the rest of it.
Kind of like
Yeah,
art,
so
you
I'm
gotta work for the prize at the end, kind of. And usually,
yeah, yeah.
if I'm
So
standing, you'll see the whole
mhm.
thing, and about halfway through a 30-minute meeting, somebody randomly will say, "Oh, that's the world," because they finally got it. So it's kind of like
Yeah,
this Easter egg.
yeah, it's like, the big reveal, I guess.
Mhm.
But it's interesting how you talk about composition because I think some of us in the creative space, a lot of us have an eye for that. And some of us develop that talent further. But like I'm kind of a stickler on my photos too. And I guess a little known fact about me is that I didn't start off in communications. I actually, when I went to UT, I got into the School of Architecture. And so I was attempting to double major in architecture and engineering, which is insane. I don't know what I was thinking as a 17-year-old. But so I am kind of an architecture nerd. And so my friends, when I go on vacation, they make fun of me because they say I always I have to take pictures of buildings and churches and cemeteries. And I'm like, that's it. Yeah. I mean, 'cause I'm a history nerd, architecture, it all kind of goes together. And so whenever I frame up a picture, I'm always taking pictures of buildings and I don't know what I do with them. They're just on my phone. I enjoy them. But I'm a stickler for symmetry. And I realized that I do that when I take those pictures, and a lot of the ways buildings, a lot of the way the buildings were built, especially in certain eras, and really in Europe too, and well, all over the world actually. I just haven't traveled all over the world just yet. But symmetry is a big part of the art and the art of the building, and so I have a real big appreciation for that. And I think when things are off in a space, I start to get bothered by it. Like, I don't know what it is. Like, something's
It's a
not
thing.
right.
Yeah,
It's
you're
a
uncomfortable.
thing.
Like, or when you're centering a paragraph and the photo's not aligned, or it's center, I'm like, oh, listen, I can't. Yeah.
I know. Oh, and justified text, it drives me insane. I can't.
Now we're getting into the nitty gritty. Here we are.
Right.
No, I love
Pet
it.
peeves of communicators on our next
Hey, man,
podcast.
they exist because the really good ones people don't appreciate, or we'll say people don't probably recognize what it takes to create a communication that you like or look at and appreciate. Because there's definitely things in the background that there's things that are being done, but going through journalism, art, photography, you'll pick up on different aspects of it. Well, Shea, thank you so much for joining today. It has been a pleasure, and I'm really excited about our groups to collaborate. NSA Houston folks, if you are interested, please follow Shea, follow IABC Houston. We're going to be posting all the links in there. This podcast is all about how do we walk the walk we're talking about. Together we rise. And so you're seeing presidents unite, just like Shea and I, to figure out how do we open value to our members? How do we give opportunities that are coming into Houston and breathing life into that city, because it's here and you're a part of it if you want to. So join us. Shea, any last few words as we close out for the day?
No, thank you for the opportunity. And I look forward to meeting more people from NSA Houston.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much. And tune in next time for another podcast from NSA Houston, all about how together we're rising. And you're a part of that. Thanks and take care.